At my son's 8th birthday party, right in front of everyone, my ex's girlfriend looked me dead in the eye and said, "Let's all be thankful he survived growing up with a mom like that." Laughter. Not just from her, from other parents, from Derek, my ex, the father of my child. He didn't laugh out loud, but he smirked. That smug, familiar curve of his mouth I knew too well. I stood there, frozen, gripping a plastic cup of juice that suddenly felt stupid in my hand. A tightness started in my chest, that kind of pain that's not sharp, just heavy, humiliating. There were balloons everywhere, blue and gold. A happy birthday Micah banner was taped to the fence in crooked letters because I couldn't get the ladder to stay level. I made the cupcakes myself, even though I'm not a baker, because Micah said he didn't want store-bought this year. "Yours taste better, Mom," he told me. That was the kind of day I had planned. Small, honest, simple. Filled with love. And then Tasha, the girlfriend, opened her mouth and stripped it bare in 5 seconds. People laughed. I'll never forget the sound. Not cruel laughter. Worse. That polite, uncomfortable kind. The kind people do when they think it's safer to go along than speak up. No one said a word in my defense. Not one person. And then, Micah, my little boy, walked to the center of the backyard holding a folded piece of paper in his hands. "Wait," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Everyone turned. He opened the paper and held it up for everyone to see. It was a drawing, crayon on printer paper. A woman standing in front of a storm. Big black clouds labeled fights, moving, yelling, and a little boy behind her, safe, smiling. "This is my mom," he said. "She saved me when no one else did." The laughter died instantly. I could hear the wind in the trees again. A kid dropped a fork. No one moved. No one spoke. Micah looked at me, not scared, not nervous, just honest. And in that moment, everything I thought was broken in me. Every doubt I carried about whether I was good enough, strong enough, worthy enough got quiet. He saw me. And he spoke for me when I couldn't. You want to know what happened next? You want to know how a child ended a room full of adults with one sentence? Stay with me. Because this story isn't just about a birthday party. It's about what it means to be a mother when no one is clapping for you. When people only see your past and not your fight. It's about how love, real love, can show up in the smallest hands with the loudest truth. My name is Leona. I'm 35 years old, and I've been a single mother for nearly 5 years. If you asked me to describe my life in one word, I'd probably say steady. Not easy, not perfect, but steady. Micah, my son, is everything to me. He was 5 when his father, Derek, finally packed up his things and left. I remember Micah sitting on the couch, hugging his favorite blanket, watching through the window as his dad loaded boxes into the trunk. He didn't cry. He didn't ask questions. He just sat there, quiet. Too quiet for a 5-year-old. That silence haunted me. I blamed myself for a long time, for staying in the relationship too long, for the yelling, for the tension Micah absorbed like a sponge. But the truth is, I fought for that family harder than anyone else did. Derek wasn't abusive. He wasn't cruel. He just stopped trying. Somewhere between job promotions and gym selfies, he lost interest in me, in us, in being a father. When he met Tasha, things changed fast. She's younger, polished, always posting curated videos of her stepmom journey like motherhood is a brand. I used to scroll through her content late at night, tears running down my face, wondering why I wasn't enough, why my love, my efforts, my constant sacrifices weren't enough for either of them. But I stopped doing that. It was poisoning me. Micah lives with me full time. Derek has visitation twice a month, but he misses some. Tasha says it's because I make things difficult, but all I've ever asked for is consistency and respect. That's been too much, apparently. So when Micah's 8th birthday came around, I wanted to make it special. I didn't have a big budget, but I had ideas, and I had love. I started planning weeks ahead. I let Micah pick the theme. He wanted space and superheroes. And I took a whole Saturday making galaxy centerpieces with dollar store supplies. My younger sister, Mira, helped with decorations. She's always had my back, even when our parents didn't understand why I stayed with Derek so long. She showed up early that morning with iced coffee and a box of candles shaped like rockets. "Today's gonna be great," she said, kissing my cheek. "You've done so much for that boy. He's gonna feel it." and I believed her. I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, the day could go smoothly. Derek texted me the night before asking if it would be okay to bring Tasha. I stared at the message for 5 minutes before replying, if Micah's okay with it, then yes. I showed him the text the next morning and asked gently, is it okay if Dad brings Tasha? He shrugged. I guess, he said. Can she not be mean? My stomach turned, but I kept my voice calm. She'll be polite. I promise. Guests started arriving around 2. Parents I knew from Micah's school, a couple of my co-workers, kids from the neighborhood. Everyone brought gifts, snacks, and big smiles. The yard was full of laughter and the smell of grilled hot dogs. Micah ran around in a homemade cape Mira helped him sew the week before. He was beaming. That's what I wanted. That moment, that smile. When Derek and Tasha arrived, I felt it before I saw it. The energy shifted. Her heels clacked against the concrete like she owned the place. She wore a white jumpsuit and full makeup, like she was attending a photo shoot, not a kid's party. Derek followed behind, carrying a bag that clearly hadn't been wrapped by him. Tasha air-kissed me and said, "Wow, you really went DIY, huh?" I smiled tightly and thanked her for coming. I could feel people watching. That awkward curiosity, the kind people feel around exes and their replacements. I focused on Micah. He hugged his dad quickly and barely looked at Tasha. She knelt down and said, "Hey, birthday boy, look what we brought." She pulled out a drone and waved it around like it was the Holy Grail. Micah thanked her, but his excitement didn't match hers. Still, I told myself to breathe. Let the moment pass. Let the day stay on track. I kept moving, refilling lemonade, checking on the music, helping kids into the bounce house. I didn't even sit down for the first hour. I was just trying to hold it all together. Everything felt like it might be okay, until it wasn't. The party hit its peak around 4. Kids were running wild in the yard, chasing bubbles and eating too much sugar. The bounce house was a war zone of sock feet and shrieking laughter. I had just brought out the tray of cupcakes when I noticed Tasha standing with a group of parents near the drinks table. She wasn't talking about anything party-related. She was holding court. That voice of hers, high, sharp, always a little too loud, carried across the yard. Derek told me how hard it was. He was basically raising Micah alone for the first few years, she said, swiping her hair behind one ear. Some women just aren't wired for motherhood. It's a shame, really. A few of the other parents chuckled politely. One woman shifted uncomfortably and sipped her drink. I caught her eyes and gave a short, tight smile. She looked away. I moved back to the table, trying to focus on the candles. I started placing them on each cupcake, hands trembling. Mira appeared beside me. "She's baiting you," Mira whispered. "Don't let her win." "I know," I said, glancing at Micah. He was helping a younger kid fix his paper crown. My heart squeezed. I needed to keep this day about him. We gathered everyone near the table for cake. Micah stood in front, grinning, cheeks flushed with happiness. I lit the candles. Everyone clapped. I leaned in and kissed his forehead. "Make a wish, baby," I said. He closed his eyes, blew out the candles, and the crowd burst into cheers. The kids shouted and reached for cupcakes. I started passing them out, smiling, trying to keep my hands from shaking. Then it happened. Tasha stepped forward, raising her plastic cup. "Can I say something real quick?" she said with a bright smile. I stopped mid-step, cupcake in hand. My stomach turned. I knew that tone. I knew what was coming, even if I didn't know the exact words. Everyone quieted down. A few kids were still talking, but most of the adults turned to her, some smiling, some just politely listening. Tasha lifted her cup and said, "Let's all take a moment to be thankful Micah survived growing up with a mom like that." Laughter. Not loud, but real. A few chuckles. One of the dads actually clapped. I saw Derek smirk. Not a full grin, but enough. That slight twitch in his mouth told me everything. He wasn't surprised. He had heard her say worse and never stopped her. I couldn't move. My hand was still holding out a cupcake to a little girl, but I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at Tasha. For a second, I thought about throwing the cupcake in her face. I imagined it, and it felt good, but I didn't. I blinked hard and looked away. People looked at me, some with pity, some with curiosity, no one with courage. No one spoke up. Mira stepped toward Tasha, eyes narrowed, but I touched her arm lightly and shook my head. Not here, not in front of Micah. I forced a breath into my lungs and turned back to the cupcakes. Keep going. Protect the moment. Don't let her take it. Then Micah's voice rang out from behind me. Wait. The word cut clean through the noise. Everyone turned. Micah stood by the garden fence, holding something in both hands. He walked to the center of the yard. The wind caught the edge of his drawing, flapping it slightly. I made this, he said. No one spoke. He unfolded the paper and held it up high. It was a drawing in thick crayon strokes. A woman with a red cape stood in front of a boy. Behind them were black clouds, lightning bolts, and words like fights, alone, and sad. This is my mom, he said. She saved me when no one else did. Silence. Heavy. Full. I couldn't see everyone's faces, but I could feel the shift in the air. Even the kids quieted down. Micah walked over and handed me the drawing. I knelt and took it, hands shaking. He leaned into me and whispered, I wanted them to know. I hugged him tightly and kissed the top of his head. The party didn't end there, but everything changed after that. People stayed, but they weren't laughing anymore. Conversations dropped. Tasha didn't speak again. Derek didn't even look at me. Micah had stood in front of a crowd and told the truth. Not just about me, but about all of it. And no one could pretend they didn't hear it. After Micah spoke, I stood frozen with his drawing in my hand. My legs were bent, my arms around his small frame, and my heart beating loud enough I was sure someone could hear it. He had said it so calmly. No tears, no yelling, just the truth. Delivered with the clarity only a child can bring into a room full of adults pretending not to know better. I looked up. The silence still hung like fog. Tasha shifted uncomfortably, smiling at no one in particular. Her confidence had cracked. Derek stared at the ground like it might open up and swallow him. He didn't say a word. I wanted to speak. I wanted to look around at the people who laughed and ask them how they lived with themselves. I wanted to grab Derek by the collar and remind him who had stayed through the colic, the night terrors, the lonely emergency room visits. I wanted to tell Tasha that no amount of perfect makeup or pretty pictures would ever make her strong enough to stand where I have stood. But I didn't. I looked at my son, whose hand now rested in mine, and I decided that if he could be brave in front of them, then I could be quiet and clear. I could be the woman in his drawing. I didn't need to explain myself, not anymore. I stood up slowly, holding the drawing carefully, and placed it on the table next to the cupcakes. Then I cleared my throat. Thank you, Micah, I said. My voice was steady. That's the best gift I've ever received. People started to move again. Small, awkward conversations resumed. Someone turned the music back on, though a little too quietly. The bounce house was still inflated, but the laughter inside had faded. I walked toward the grill where Mira stood waiting. Her eyes were glassy. You okay? She asked, reaching for my hand. I nodded. Yeah, I think I actually am. She looked over at Micah, who had gone back to playing like nothing had happened. He did that for you. I know, I said, and now I need to do something for him. In that moment, I made a decision. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It didn't come with a speech or a grand gesture. But it was real. I decided to stop trying to be polite in the face of cruelty. I decided I wouldn't invite people into Micah's life just because I felt obligated. I decided my peace mattered more than appearances. When the party wound down, people started saying their goodbyes. Some were sincere, others were quick to leave. One of the moms, Paula, came over quietly and said, I'm sorry for what happened earlier. That wasn't right. I appreciated that. I didn't need her to fix it. Just recognizing it was enough. Tasha avoided me completely. She busied herself packing things into her bag, calling out fake cheerful goodbyes to other kids. Derek stayed behind for a moment, helping fold up chairs. As he picked one up, he finally looked at me. I didn't know he'd say that, he said. I raised my eyebrows. You mean tell the truth? He blinked. I didn't mean it like that. No, I said, stepping closer. You meant to stay quiet while your girlfriend insulted the mother of your child. That's exactly what you meant. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I won't make this mistake again, I said. Next time she's not invited. If you can't respect that, we'll go through the courts. Derek nodded once. He didn't argue. He didn't even apologize. He just turned and walked away. After everyone had gone, I sat on the back steps with Micah. He leaned against my shoulder, tired but content. "Did you have a good birthday?" I asked. "The best," he said. "Why?" He smiled. "Because I got to say what I wanted to say. I got to show them." "You didn't have to do that, baby." "I know," he said, "but I wanted to. You always protect me. I wanted to protect you, too." My throat tightened, but I stayed still. I wrapped an arm around him and kissed his forehead. That was the turning point. Not just in the party, not just in the way people saw me, but in the way I saw myself. I realized that being a good mother doesn't mean being silent when disrespected. It means drawing boundaries like lines in the sand and defending them with quiet strength. It means raising a child who can recognize love and stand up for it even when no one else does. The sun had dipped lower in the sky by the time I finished cleaning up. Wrappers, half-eaten cupcakes, juice boxes scattered in the grass. I moved slowly, not because I was tired, but because something inside me had shifted. I wasn't rushing to clean for the sake of appearing put together anymore. I was just doing what needed to be done. Micah sat at the patio table with Mira, coloring quietly. He had changed out of his space-themed t-shirt into a plain one, still wearing the red cape from earlier. He looked peaceful, like none of the chaos had touched him. But I knew better. Kids feel everything. They just express it in different ways. Mira handed me a trash bag. "Want me to take this one out?" "I've got it," I said. "Thanks for staying." She tilted her head. "You sure you're okay?" I looked over at Micah, then at the drawing still taped to the fridge inside. I've never been clearer. Just as we were finishing up, Derek returned. I heard the car door slam and turned to see him walking up the path alone. No Tasha. He stopped halfway across the yard and looked at me like he wasn't sure if he should keep going. "What is it?" I asked. He scratched the back of his neck. "I wanted to talk, just for a minute." Mira stood up immediately. "I'll take Micah inside. He's been dying to show me his video game." She gave me a quick glance before leading him inside. Derek stepped forward. "I didn't handle that well." "No, you didn't," I said. He looked embarrassed, which was rare for him. I didn't know she was going to say that. She said it because she thought she could, because no one in your life has told her not to. He nodded. "I should have said something." "But you didn't," I said, and Micah saw that. That made him flinch. He looked down at his shoes. "I get it," I continued. "You're trying to keep things simple. You don't want conflict. But avoiding conflict isn't the same as keeping peace. It just tells people they can keep disrespecting me and still have access to our son." "I don't want him in the middle," he said. "He's not in the middle. He's been watching from the sidelines for years, waiting for someone to stand up for what's right." Derek was quiet for a long moment. "He surprised me today." "He didn't surprise me," I said. "He's been growing braver every year, and I'm proud of him for saying what he did, but he shouldn't have had to." He looked at me then. Really looked. "You're doing a good job." I didn't respond with a thank you. I didn't need his approval. I had my son's. "I think we should talk about how these visits work going forward," I said. "No more Tasha at events, no more last-minute changes. If you can't follow through, we'll need to revisit the agreement." "I understand," he said. That was the first honest thing he'd said all day. He turned to leave, then paused. "Can I tell Micah goodbye?" "Sure," I said, briefly. He walked inside. I stayed outside, breathing in the cool air, letting my shoulders drop for the first time in hours. A few minutes later, Micah came back out alone. "Dad said he'd see me next weekend." "You okay?" I asked. He nodded. He said he liked my drawing. He should. It told the truth. Micah leaned against me again. "Do you think they'll be nicer next time?" "They might. They might not. But it doesn't change who you are, or who I am." He looked up. "You're the superhero." I smiled. "And you're my reason." Later that night, after the dishes were washed and the decorations taken down, I went to Micah's room to say goodnight. He had fallen asleep with the drawing next to him on the bed, still folded. I sat on the edge of his bed and looked at his small hands, his peaceful face. In the silence, something settled in me. This wasn't about winning or losing. It wasn't about what others thought. It was about the bond between us, built in hard years, strengthened in quiet moments, proven today, in front of everyone. When the world tries to define you by your worst chapter, your child can become your greatest testimony. In front of an audience that thought they knew everything, Micah told the truth, and the truth stopped the room. The morning after the party, I woke up earlier than usual. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the soft creak of the hallway floor under my feet. I walked into the kitchen and found Micah's drawing still pinned to the fridge where I had left it. The colors were bold, defiant. The storm clouds were dark, but the woman standing in front of them stood taller than everything else. I made coffee and sat at the table, letting myself feel everything I had pushed aside the day before. The humiliation, the anger, the pride. The moment Micah stood up and changed the energy of that entire party played over in my mind like a scene from a movie. But it wasn't fiction. It was real. He had spoken, not for applause, not for attention, but because the truth mattered more to him than being polite. That's what stuck with me. My son didn't just defend me. He reminded me of the power of being seen, not by the crowd, not by the people who laugh or smirk or whisper behind your back, but by the one person who lives in the heart of your every decision, the one who watches you hold it together when you want to fall apart, the one who trusts you to be there even when everything else falls away. I used to worry so much about what other people thought of me, other moms, teachers, my ex's family, his new girlfriend. Every sideways comment would rattle around in my mind for days. I'd wonder if they were right, if I was too emotional, too intense, too messy, if maybe I really wasn't built for this. But that's over now. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I've had days where I lost my patience, nights where I cried in the bathroom so Micah wouldn't hear me. I've worked double shifts. I've asked for help when it felt like failure to do so. I've shown up tired, broken, and scared. But I showed up, every single time. That's what motherhood is. It's not a curated photo. It's not matching outfits or expensive gifts. It's not keeping your voice small so other people stay comfortable. It's being the wall between your child and the storm. And some days, it's letting them see that you're human too. Micah taught me that. Later that day, he came into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes, his hair sticking up in every direction. "You hungry?" I asked. He nodded. "Can I have birthday pancakes?" I smiled. I thought you might say that. As I poured the batter onto the pan, he sat at the table and watched me. "Are you mad about yesterday?" he asked. "No," I said. "I'm proud. You were brave." "Dad didn't look happy." "Maybe not, but that's not your job to fix." Micah thought for a moment. "Is it okay that I said it?" "It's more than okay," I told him. "You told the truth, and the truth matters. Always." He didn't say anything else, just nodded and started coloring on a napkin with a pen he found in the drawer. I watched him quietly, this little person with such a strong heart, and I felt something settle in me that I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace, not because everything was resolved, not because people suddenly understood me, but because I had clarity. And clarity is a gift that comes when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who aren't capable of seeing it. Micah saw it. That was enough. The lesson from that day isn't about revenge or public redemption. It's about finding your voice when others try to silence it. It's about recognizing the quiet power of being loved by someone who truly knows your heart. And it's about raising a child who tells the truth, even when it shakes the room. To every mother who's been dismissed, misjudged, or mocked, your worth isn't up for debate. Your child knows the truth, and one day when it matters most, they'll speak it, loud and clear, just like mine did. Thank you for listening to my story. If it meant something to you, if it reminded you of your own strength, or someone who stood up for you when no one else would, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it today. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been in a moment where someone surprised you by standing up for you? Or maybe you've been the one who spoke the truth when no one else would. Your stories matter. They deserve to be told too. And if you want more real stories like this, about motherhood, resilience, and the quiet courage it takes to keep going, subscribe to the channel. You're not alone, and this space is for you. See you in the next one.